your address has referred to the economic resolution of the AICC session and what you call the bewildering changes taking place in rapid succession. I think changes can seem to be bewildering only to those who wish to remain where they are. Those who wish to go ahead see the changes as part of the changes which are coming about in the entire world. And while you may complain that changes are taking place too fast, let me tell you that there are many in the country who feel that the changes are not taking place fast enough. I do not dispute. In fact, I have said so many times that the private sector has made a substantial contribution in bringing about rapid industrialization and in broadening and diversifying the industrial base of our economy. But business and industry should be the first to acknowledge that this process of development had itself brought in its wake certain tensions and new problems, and unless these are effectively tackled, further development will be harmed. Our new economic and social policy resolution only seeks to identify the basic causes of tensions and unrest and to remove them. I welcome your statement that the business community is aware of its obligations. This will improve the image of businessmen in the society of which they are a part. It is possible to draw a minimum program of action and to implement it vigorously. Perhaps I could indicate a few possible directions in which business and industry could act in concert and could demonstrate their awareness of their social obligations. One of the most serious problems facing us is the adulteration of food and drugs. It is a widespread evil which cannot be put down by government action alone. Enlightened sections of the business community could mount a campaign against this evil, which not only deprives the consumer of the value of his money, but in many cases poses a positive health hazard. Nothing damages the public image of the business community in India so much as this unethical practice. Another social evil is rather a complex of social evils. It is what is termed as luxurious consumption. This is undesirable by itself because it dissipates the savings of the community into unproductive channels. It is both the cause and the effect of other antisocial practices such as tax evasion and tax avoidance. In Mumbai, you have certain specific problems. I refer to one problem which is mentioned to me by every single foreign tourist who come to Mumbai. This is the entrance to the city. Now this is something which I mentioned to the Chief Minister on every drive into the city and at practically every public forum where I have spoken. and I think this is a matter which the citizens of Mumbai should take up on a large scale, whether it is the women's organizations, whether it is the business community or anybody else. I think that if everybody acts together, it can be tackled. It is not a very large area, and I do not think that finances alone stand in the way. It is not only the image of Mumbai which is suffering, but Mumbai being one of the important gateways to India, it is the image of India which suffers thereby. You have, Mr. President, mentioned in your address the present policy of the government, which is to encourage new entrepreneurship and talent. But what have businessmen done to identify and promote such talent of which there is no dearth in the country? The bigger business and industrial establishments, by trying to foreclose profitable lines of business and sometimes by seeking to produce everything under the same roof or in allied establishments, succeed in keeping out new talent from entering the business field. Associations such as yours and other chambers of commerce should draw up concrete scheme to foster new entrepreneurship and talent. Our suggestion, which was made at the last meeting of the custodians of the nationalized banks, was that some of the senior and professionally qualified executives in bigger establishment who have the necessary skill could step out and start small scale enterprises to provide employment to young engineers and other technical personnel. They will of course get all help from the financial institutions in the public sector. Business associations could also play an important and more active part in encouraging businessmen and industrialists in the industrially backward areas. As regards the organizational setup of the new nationalized banks, I think there is hardly any need for me to reiterate the assurance which I have already given, that is, that we do not propose to set up a top heavy organization, and we do envisage maximum possible freedom and flexibility of operation of individual banks, consistent only with certain broad social objectives, and that the functioning will be completely insulated from extraneous political influences. But we do envisage that the banks should function as an active instrument for the furtherance of the economic and social objectives.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.